What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Friends of Mortgage Heroes. I'm Brian.
I'm Will.
And today we're joined by a very empowering individual, 20-year Navy veteran, who brings the same beliefs, value, and work ethic into real estate dynasty since 2016. A father, a husband, and a true leader. Please give a big welcome to the CEO of the Moore Group, a.k.a. Military Operated Real Estate Group, Travis Winfield.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How you doing, guys?
And I think we missed it on the 20 years, right? I think it was more than that, right, Travis?
Like 24, but
that's
you
it.
know, it's all good.
20 plus, I don't want to give out any ages.
20.
I don't want to get out any ages.
There we go.
Listen, if I was smart, I would have gotten out of 20, right? So
Yeah.
it just took me about 4 years to smart enough to get out, but it's still, I don't miss a day of it.
Hey, kind of stumbled on the intro, but we have Travis in the building, so hey, big.
No,
big
you
guy,
know
big
what?
shot,
There's
big
actually,
shot.
Brian, there was no stumble. It was all great.
It was.
As a matter of fact, it gave me the chills just knowing I got my brother from another mother right here. This guy is just amazing father, amazing entrepreneur, and boy, does he give back to the community. So thank you for being here with us, Travis.
No, William, let's be straight, man. Like, I wouldn't be here without you, right?
Ah.
I mean,
Don't put it on me. This is about you today.
I'm sure. No, come on, man. We have to talk about that, right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. I mean, for those who are listening, I mean, William was literally the guy, one of the first people I met in California when I moved here from Sicily. And I was literally came here for 1 week, and I was touring homes, and I got connected with him because I needed a loan. Of course, I was that guy who bled blue, and I only wanted to use Navy Federal Credit Union.
I remember that.
And I got edumacated, if you will. And I'll tell you and he knows this story, of course. But my very first introduction to Will, I was sitting in this very building, in his very office, and just kind of sitting there. And he had ordered. I just shown up, and he just had some sushi ordered, and I was freaking starving. And I think he saw my mouth salivating over across his desk. He's like, "Man, you hungry?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine, man." He's like, "No, eat." And he literally gave me his freaking lunch, his sushi. And I don't know. From there, it just was. I don't know.
We fell in love.
Fell in love, man.
No, I love it.
Forever, man.
No, and how long ago was that?
2009.
Dang, man.
Early 9.
That is nuts,
so
right?
15 years this year.
That's crazy. Well, hey, I always appreciate the friendship, but more so the brotherhood, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we talk to each other, and it's like we're like family. You were just saying earlier before we got on the show, like, I show up at his home in Fallbrook, but it's an oasis, It's like I go in there, it's like, well, I didn't pay the fee for a hotel or internet like we do when we go to these resorts, right?
You just haven't gotten the resort fee bill yet.
That's it. But I get to stay in a wonderful home with you. So, no, thank you for just being family.
So, Trav, you said that you met Will in 2009.
Yep.
You got into real estate in 2016. What was the trajectory leading up into the 2016 and joining the real estate industry?
Well, actually, it was 2011 that I got my real estate license. But 2016 was actually the year I retired and went all in with real estate.
My fact checkers are going to get a...
So it is legitimate. Like, I didn't really start full time until I retired from the Navy in 16.
Okay.
But I got into real estate primarily because of Will and a mutual friend of ours, Derek Barksdale, who approached me. And they'll tell you that both of them will probably tell you I was probably the biggest pain in the ass client they had at the time, because I asked every question. I questioned every little thing, of course. But then about 6 months later, y'all kind of both approached me and were like, you kind of have a little knack for this stuff. You want to get into real estate?
You did.
I got my license, and the rest is history.
Yeah, we got you to get into the dark side of things.
Yes, yes.
Now you get to deal with the real facts and how people really feel. But, we thought you were a great candidate because, one, you did have the great questions. I mean, as a first-time home buyer, being in Italy, not seeing properties over here, you were actually putting your faith in who was supporting you.
Absolutely.
And so that was just great. And I appreciate that you trusted us and you went through that process. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what actually really helped you and propelled yourself with helping your current clients and in the things that you're doing now, Travis.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, like, I actually ended up, unfortunately, firing a realtor that I first had when I was looking, because it was back in the short sale boom where 98% of listings were short sales. And this guy was kind of steering me away, and he also didn't answer my calls. And I was on the other side of the world. When you're buying a large sum of money house from the other side of the world, I have questions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so unfortunately, that didn't work out. And crazy enough, I don't know if I told you this, the guy who introduced me originally to Derek, David Mims, is actually in town right now. I'm going to go see him after this.
Nice.
So full circle, if you will, on the connections.
Nice.
And I remember him telling me, hey, you know, I told him the frustrations I was having at the time. He's like, hey, call my guy Derek. He knows a good lender too. Just like see where this goes. And I tell you that y'all showed me what it should be.
Gotcha.
And what the experience should be like. And then I never looked back. You know, while I was in active duty, I was dabbling in real estate. And then when I went full time in 16, you know, that's when the thing just kind of took off.
Yeah. You know, one thing I think I've never asked you is like, really, what got you to say, I want to do real estate?
I think it was exactly what I said. After having the experience, and then once y'all approached me basically saying, hey, have you ever considered it? I started to think about it. I'm like, wow, you know, you're absolutely right. Never in a million years did I think I'd retire and get into real estate, right? Be a real estate agent. You know, I was in law enforcement. I thought I was going to be a cop for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I think what it was exactly that. I saw the difference that you guys make.
Yeah.
One person at a time, starting with me. And then I just felt like, oh, well, you know, unfortunately, and I've seen both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
I've seen what good people in this industry do, and I can see what bad people in this industry can do. And I go, you know, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Just be good, put their needs first. And, you know, and as the motto of my company is that I say that I've developed over the years is, if you chase the money, you'll never catch it. But if you're just truly righteous about taking care of others, the money will follow.
That's right.
Oh, 100%. I believe purpose over profit always.
Absolutely.
The profit comes on its own.
Yeah, exactly. And those who chase the money, just unfortunately, I don't know if they're always in it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I think it's always that never-ending like chase. You just keep chasing more and more and more and more. So there's really no solidified like, how do I say? Oh, this is what fulfills me. No actual fulfillment besides the money, the dollar signs, and that eventually is
No, absolutely,
a hole.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you're mentioning that you're a realtor, but I actually see you beyond that. I like to call you a licensed investor, right? Because every time that you see people PCSing from other countries, like you did yourself, you're always just giving them this value of, what if you did this, bought here, and then we refinance, and then you go there? Or what if you built this, or you did this? And I know you dabble in multiple businesses. So
I did.
I can't see you like a realtor like that, right? You're in Fusion, Growth Partners. You're always just trying to grow your team. You're just an inspiration and encouragement to others. So I just have to tell you, for me, I look at you like you're a licensed investor here.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, and to Brian's point, I will also tell you that I think maybe the thing that drives me is I've learned since retirement. I mean, gosh, can you believe it's gonna be 8 years this year since I retired? It blows my mind sometimes. But you hear so many people talk about success.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been so successful, Travis. Let me tell you something. Success is not what people think it is. Success has zero to do with money. And I will tell you this about money that I've learned. Money will do one of two things. If you're an asshole, it's going to make you a bigger freaking asshole. If you are a righteous person, it's going to make you more philanthropic and more of a righteous person. And I can tell you, I've kind of experienced both. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I've started couldn't rub two pennies together growing up.
Yeah.
And so when I first got into this industry, and I'm like, ooh, I got this $10,000 check. What do I do with it? Let me go spend it like I did when I was younger. And so success about money, I've learned that every time I bought something and got some kind of material gain, and I got the big house and the cars and all the toys, none of it fulfilled me, to your point. And so that's why I go door to door now trying to explain to people, happiness is not about monetary gain. Happiness is about fulfillment. It is about enjoying the journey, because so many people are goal driven and like, oh, reach your goals, make all these goals, blah, blah. Look, if you're not enjoying the journey, what is it all for?
Oh man.
I mean, seriously. And that's all I was telling you at this point, right? I used to work so hard for my entire military career. I had 2 jobs. I mean, I was a senior chief petty officer in the Navy working at Best Buy Products right down the door.
I remember that. I remember that.
Right?
Yep.
And that's because I just felt I had to grind. And so this is where wisdom, if you will, as you get older, I just realized that it's, I feel like I just love to tell people, like, stop and smell the roses. And that's what my wife brings to my life, is that she always gets me to slow down. And
bang.
Shout out to the missus.
There you go, Maria. You're making an impact.
Always does.
So speaking about journey,
That's awesome.
I remember when I first got started working with William, it was the Travis Winfield group.
Yes.
Can you take us through through the trajectory of how it became more, and how did more come about?
Well, that's a great question. It's, I started the Winfield Group back when I first retired in 2016.
That's right.
And I wanted to build a group. And then later on, I was very blessed. I didn't think it would be, but my son was a golfer, as he knows.
Yeah.
For the record, this is how also this guy was. He actually let my son use his I-8 to go to prom. Who the fuck does that? Right? Like, so
there was no contract either.
It wasn't.
No. And so, but my son ended up graduating. He went up to play Division I golf.
Yeah.
But then he actually approached me saying he wasn't enjoying it. And so I've been very blessed. He actually came back, got into business. I kind of, put him through the grinder, if you will, because I didn't want him to feel like he was entitled. But man, he's just crushed it. And so I'm very blessed to say that, my son became my business partner through this. And so, of course, you think, oh, great, perfect. The Winfield Group, have another Winfield in the Winfield Group, right? But then we both got to talking, and, I'm very transparent about this because I always like to express my experiences that people realize that they're not alone. And me and you've talked about this offline, right? But 2022, you mentioned about having multiple businesses. Yes, I did. When you become an entrepreneur, you realize that the sky's the limit, right?
That's right.
You feel like you could do anything. And of course, by the end of 2021, end of COVID, I was, building the Winfield Group. I was a partner in the nation's first military-focused real estate brokerage, Century Residential. I was on the board of directors for the Enlisted Leadership Foundation, which I'm still on. But then if I wasn't busy enough, I decided to buy a brewery. Right?
I need more.
Right. I need more. Give me more.
Hey, more.
Exactly.
Well, and, I was hanging in there, right? And, but the first lesson there is when you get into this, just remember anything you decide to do, something will sacrifice. And in this case, I had to pull myself away from a lucrative real estate business to try to run a brewery.
A brewery.
And essentially all I did was buy myself a job is what I did. Now, fast forward, now beginning of 2022, life happens, right? My stepmother, who helped raise me, ends up passing away.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Then a close family friend of ours who I had hired to run the brewery, unfortunately, didn't work out, and I had to let him go. That, of course, damaged a relationship. Damaged a relationship that has kind of unrecovered since. Then in the heat wave of that year, we lost a horse, which my wife, that's
what she loves.
Family member.
Big.
And then kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in September 2022, my 91-year-old grandmother lived a wonderful life, but I was there visiting, and she ended up passing away right in front of me. So you take all of these things, and this is where you have to realize that you're human. And I end up having to, I actually went into clinical depression.
Oh,
and I know me and you, we actually didn't talk for a while, and we talked about this later. Like,
you were going through a lot, so I get it.
Right, but you didn't know it. I wasn't telling anybody, but I was literally curled up in the corner of my bedroom for like 2 months crying, and I had to go to therapy. I had to go get help. The difference between me is it took me 2 months to get out of it, but I did not want to be a victim.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything I could to get out of it. Like, I went to therapy, I got on medication, I was doing Reiki healing, I was meditating, taking long walks in the rain, anything I could to get out of it. And then ultimately, I went to visit a mentor of mine. I went to go see Tony Robbins, who is a great inspiration to a lot of people.
Yes.
And I had an epiphany. I'm like, all right, why do I have to make everybody happy all the time? So I had to make some fundamental shifts in my life on what was truly important. Needless to say, building a business with my son is kind of important, right?
Yeah.
So I went all in with that. I resigned from the brokerage, I moved my team, and then I made a decision to sell the brewery. So now I simplified my life. I now just have my team, and I have the Enlisted Leadership Foundation because that's my philanthropic endeavor. Now, I know that was a long response to get to your question. But the More Group came about last year. I had this idea of the More Group 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, more, I like acronyms. I'm a military guy. I'm like, more, military real estate. And I came up, I had the More Network, which I've used on social media for some time. But then me and my son were talking, and I'm like, I'm tired of things being just about me, like my name and everything. And we decided we wanted to build something bigger than ourselves.
Nice.
So we made a fundamental decision to remove our name from it, and basically dust that idea off that I had on the shelf and implement that. And I realized that I didn't need to build a company from scratch. I can leverage another machine or a model to run a brand. And so we just decided to launch the MORE Group. As you talked about, it stands for Military Operated Real Estate Group. And our tagline is expect more from your realtor. So you can also see how the puns that you can work with that, right? And we launched that middle of last year, and we've been trying to just grow it ever since. And so, yes, sometimes you have to shrink to grow.
That's it.
But it's been a blessing, and we get a lot of great feedback on it.
And thank you for sharing that. Like, even the context of it really helps understand how it really came about. Would you say you have more fulfillment now, moving on more than before?
Absolutely, because you were able to really hone in on what's important. I spent more than half my life in the military. Yeah. And even though the Winfield Group still kind of saying, the tagline was, bringing the military work ethic to real estate, it just still didn't fully meet, kind of like what you all did with, William, you used to, you came up with the Mortgage Heroes, kind of the same concept.
That's correct.
Rebranded behind that. By the way, it's kind of like my inspiration too, by the way, is I just felt I wanted to build a brand that could really resonate with our veterans. And also military agents, because I only hire military veterans and their families in our group.
That's awesome. You're saying to Brian, sorry you made it a lengthy, here the question just kind of got larger than what we are, but I appreciate that your transparency.
Yeah.
Just being so vulnerable and just putting it out there, I'm sure it probably even feels good, right?
I'm a firm believer in this. There's so many people that suffer from depression, anxiety, all of that things. And for me, and it's not for everybody, for me, talking about it helps. It's just my therapy, because I have found, and it's happened more times than not. Actually, if you were at my retirement ceremony 8 years ago, and
thank you for that.
And there was one of my dear friends. He confided in me about some problems he was having, and I told him about some issues I had before with PTSD and stuff. And he actually inspired him to go get help. And he literally stood at my retirement ceremony and told me that basically what I did for him saved his life. And so now I don't want anything in return. I don't expect people to come to say anything like that. But I do know that if we all just tell our stories and realize, and other people listening can go, holy shit, I'm not alone in this.
That's right.
Then that's why I want to be transparent.
Yeah. And that's why, this is why we established Friends of Mortgage Heroes. We all have our successes, but there's also defeats. Peaks and valleys we all talk about, especially when you're going into entrepreneurship, learning to pivot just the way you did. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about the Winfield. It's about the MORE Group, right? You're seeing the bigger picture, and how do I bring a bigger community to support this cause?
Absolutely.
Which is amazing. I'm so I'm getting the chills here, bro. It's been a lot of good nuggets. And again, I appreciate that you put your vulnerability out there, because I'm telling you, I have the same issue, and I'm a talker. I will say what's on my chest. I'm just one of those guys that's going to put it out there, because like you, that is my therapy. That is the way I get it, and I don't just carry that situation over and over.
Agreed.
Water under the bridge.
Yep, I agree. Agreed.
One of the things that came to mind was something that I was listening earlier this week is I walked through open doors because I was called on to help others walk through them.
Yeah.
And I think that is a perfect example of, the fulfillment that you truly get, because you're actually helping somebody accomplish something that they believe that they couldn't themselves.
Yep.
And that, for me, in this industry has been the fulfillment of helping others get through that obstacle when they themselves don't see that light, and I could be that light for them. I think that was great. So thank you.
Damn. So we're done, right? Let's go.
Well, I think you nailed it, though. Education is something that's very, it's actually one of my other passion projects. With the Enlisted Leadership Foundation, for example, I teach a monthly financial health class called Military Money and More.
Yes.
And the reason why that is because, right now, okay, you guys are in the mortgage industry. I'm in the real estate industry. Well, there's so many people could never even fathom the ability of owning a home.
Yeah.
And of course, my why is I'd love to help everybody, but needless to say, I'm trying to stay niche, and I'm a firm believer that our veterans, they fought for our country. Damn it, they deserve to own a piece of it.
That's right.
So that being said, the financial health piece of this is and it's not just the VA home loan. I don't just teach that, okay? Because there's a lot of people in our industry that teach that. Unfortunately, I know this. I'm very direct, of course, is the self-serving, isn't it?
Yeah, it
right?
is.
If I'm going to teach somebody the VA home loan, well, what am I hoping they'll do?
Yeah, get a
They'll
home
come
loan.
and give me business.
Are you doing it for them, or are you really doing it for you?
Exactly. So with the financial health class, I realized I did some research. Do you know there's only 7 states in the entire country that teach any sort of financial health, or education in public schools.
No.
I believe it.
Only 7.
Yeah, that's
and,
crazy.
And California's not one of them.
Of course. Why?
And we're talking about, we are such a debt-based society
Yeah.
that we don't, I mean, it's almost like they intentionally keep our society ignorant
Yeah.
so that they can try to convince them to get more loans. And I've always said, like,
Yeah.
there's good debt and bad debt.
Yeah.
Mortgages, I say is a good debt, right? Because it's OPM, other people's money that you can leverage to actually make money.
Correct.
But the bad debt is, and where so many people can't even get to that point of owning a home, is because they have this short-term people shoving in their face, hey, go get a car, or, no credit, no money, no problem, right?
Yeah.
Do you want a credit card to this store when you're paying? Yeah, of
Exactly.
course. You'll save 20%.
Exactly. So I'm a big proponent of teaching how to cure the disease and not the symptom,
Ooh, I like that.
right? And I think that's where we need to go to. We need to go back to the grassroots and teaching people how to cure the disease,
Yes.
right? Because we're so much on curing the symptoms of the big problems in this country versus trying to cure the actual
Wow.
You can
root
apply that
cause
on
of it.
so many things right now.
Oh, exactly.
I literally had it right there. I'm going to use that later for something.
Absolutely, right? Like, that's where we need to focus on. Let's focus on the core, focus on the root cause.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then everything else manages to fix itself.
That's it. Exactly.
So, like, that's where I go. I just go door to door. I don't care. I've had one person in my class. I don't care.
Yeah.
If I move that one person and get them to make some, good decisions, and that's going to help them in the future, my goal is if they happen to show up 20 years from now saying, hey, that class you taught, after I took that, I did this, and this, and now I'm a millionaire. Thanks, man. Cool.
Yeah.
But I don't even give a shit if they do
No,
that.
no.
Right? We always want, it's kind of like our kids, right? Here's a fun thing with our kids. I love this statement. It says that, your children are the only people on the planet that you want to do better than you.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So true.
Right?
And it's crazy now having 2 boys. Like, my whole life is just surrounded by,
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my 2 boys.
Well, I had the privilege of doing one with you.
Yeah.
I went up there. I'm like, man, that's Travis. Like, this is good stuff. And when you were done, the people coming and asking the right questions, it was just pretty gratifying, right? Like, okay, something hit, especially if they're asking these questions.
Right.
It wasn't just, where do I go spend my Saturday, right?
Right.
And to that point, I feel like, there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of just recycled information. If you're able to go there and take something from it and actually apply it to your life, I think that's the best thing. And some of the times you might not be able to apply everything, but if you can go and get one piece of information that's going to help you move the needle down the line, keep doing that.
No,
Little by
absolutely.
little.
And one of the things on the that I'm going to say a training, because I think it's a training, because those are things they have to train in life to be better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
So in that training, he helps you create a budget. And that's what Sebi, your son, I was like, oh my God, I was almost on tears, Sebi, because I saw him when he was like 5, 6 years old. You know what I mean? And now to see him present and him believing and him applying those things, I was just like, no way.
Yep.
Like, I'm not even a budget person but I also don't know what I make or what I have because my wife does everything, right? But it's so important, Travis, in these situations in life to create a budget when you're young. And when you're as young as Sebi and creating those great habits, just going to allow you to be financially free at later time in your life,
And I'm sorry to cut you off. No, and on that note, what advice would you give to parents listening right now that want to push their kids in the right direction, want to motivate them to do more, and what would you say the approach you took, and what advice would you give to parents?
So first off, you can open an account for your kids as early as age 14. All right. Number 2, 529 account. It's a tax-deferred place that you can put money away for your kids. All right.
Yeah.
Now, how to teach them. Here's what I do. There's a great app. It's not the best investment app out there because of high fees, but it's a great one for an early start, and it's called Acorns. And Acorns is a great app because what it does is it connects to your bank account. And every time you swipe your card for like a coffee for like a $2.25, it'll round it up to $3 and it'll take the 75 cents and invest it. And they have an early account where you can actually invest for your kids. And when they turn 18, they get control of that account.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So what I did for my daughter is my daughter just turned 18. And when my son moved out about 4 years ago, she's like, hey, Dad, well, Sevi's moving out. Do I get a higher allowance because I have to do all the chores? I'm like, that's not
Always
a bad
the girl.
idea. But I tell you what, I am going to give you a raise. But here's the thing.
Oh.
You don't get to see it. I basically made the Acorns account and I invested the raise and allowance into the Acorns account instead of giving it to her. So she was being forced to invest. Now, I know she didn't quite grasp it at the time, but when she turned 18, I'm able to say, hey, here's $7,000 for you to use for college.
Yeah.
and that's not, I mean, it's not a crazy amount, but it's something to start. And it kind of like, whoa.
What the
Yeah,
heck?
it's that seed that you planted that like teaches her delayed gratification.
Right. And then the other thing is that I did is when she did graduate, we all want to give our kids a graduation
Correct.
gift, right? Well, she had a car. She had decided to buy a car, and I decided to be the bank for her because she was under 18 at the time because she graduated at 17. So I bought the car, but then I financed it for her. So I made her pay an interest and everything, and I made her pay a monthly payment to me. Nice. So when she graduated, what I did was, okay, congratulations, your car is now paid in full.
Yeah.
Great. She was like all excited. I like, but there's an asterisk. Make sure you read the asterisk there, young lady.
Yeah.
And what is that? It's like, you must commit to me that this point forward, this time moving forward, 20% of all income that you make will be invested.
Wow.
And so she has, because here's a great thing that a lot of people don't realize. If you invest in, and this is what I tell people, can we all agree that if you go out in town, especially San Diego, can you spend $200 in one night going out?
In one swipe?
Right. Easy.
In one swipe.
All right. So here's what I tell every young person, and I focus on the young people because time is important here.
Yes.
Is that if you can like sacrifice that one night a week or month to go party and take $200 and you invest $200 from age 20 to age 29, just 9 years, you would have roughly almost $22,000 had you shoved it under your mattress. But instead of doing that, you put it into an like some kind of investment vehicle, right? At age 29, you decided, hey, I don't want to invest anything else. I'm done. I'm just going to go party the rest of my life. But they forget about it, and they just let it ride, that $22,000 investment. They let it ride. At age 67, Brian, let me take a guess. How much do you think you have in your bank account then?
Shit, north of $1 million maybe?
$2.5 million.
Jeez, there you go.
$2.5 million by just 9 years of investing $200 a month. Now, alternatively, this is where time is not your friend. And this was me, by the way. I was a late bloomer, right? Trying to figure this shit out.
Hey,
Right? So at age 30, if you did the same thing, invest $200 a month until age 67, but invested every single month, that's over $91,000. Do you know that you would have lost over $1 million investing because you missed just 9 years?
Power of compound interest.
That's right. Thank you, Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein literally said, is quoted by saying the most powerful invention humanity has ever developed was the power of compound interest. So my advice is, start investing now. It's not timing the market, it's time in the market.
Yeah, amen to that.
And
I'm a big believer on that.
Finish the podcast
Boom. No, again, these are all great nuggets. Thank you. One of the things you mentioned way earlier in the beginning, not only were you active, service, you were working at Best Buy, but you also were doing real estate. So somebody getting into this industry, what would you tell them? And they're interested. I'm interested in, getting into the real estate world. What would you advise them?
Well, first I would try to talk them out of it.
You sure you want to do this?
Seriously, I actually, every single person who approaches me about real estate, because I used to think that, remember in my early days, I think I trained and recruited over 100 people in my first, few years. And of those 100 people, like maybe 6 ever did anything. So I had the epiphany, like, I guess I've realized that just not everybody has what it takes to be really successful in an all commission-based industry. Then I start telling them about the true statistics.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know in the state of California, 1 in 130 people have a real estate license?
Wow.
And of that, and there's only one license more common, and that's the driver's license. All right? True story. All right? Now, of all of the licensed people, only 17% of people work full-time in this industry. And they have an 80% failure rate in the first 5 years.
Absolutely. All right. I believe that.
And the really crazy thing is 25% of all transactions, which is a huge number, is done by the top 2% of real estate professionals.
Jeez.
So I tell people, like, look, you're absolutely right. It has the potential. It actually has the lowest threshold of education to get into an industry with the highest return on what you can make.
Yeah.
But I just like to set proper expectations that it's not for everybody. I make them do a disc test. I really run people through the ringer because I don't want to promise anything I can't deliver.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
right?
huge.
So that's my first thing. I'll try to talk them out of it. Now, if they end up I'm not scaring them away.
No,
right?
it's true.
The military has some, of course, I'm focused on the military. So, I have a very niche amount of people that I talk to. But SkillBridge is a great program to get into, and our company's doing that. And then there's another program that if anybody's listening and you're a veteran and you are looking to transition, I have another program that I can't announce publicly.
Yeah.
But feel free to contact me directly, and I can fill you in on some stuff that we got working on that is actually an absolute game changer when it comes to veterans trying to get into the real estate profession.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, it happens so much. You know, we both work with a lot of military people, and they're like, well, Will, how do I do what I do? Do you want to do the lunch? No, I don't like the numbers. I don't like the math, right?
That's
me. Yeah, I'd rather go and do, like, I can see myself showing homes. I can see myself putting one of my friends' house. So what I want to do is take advantage of the community that I'm in already, you know? And I'm like, okay, because just like the numbers you said, you know, real estate, the Department of Real Estate is going to make it easy for you, right? No, the only education you need is go out there, do your 40 hours of ethics and all that stuff, but there is no bachelor's degree or anything. It's one of the fastest ways to get a freaking license.
It is.
You know? And I think they do it so much like a conveyor belt because it's like, hey, I
spit them out every month.
Exactly. I get so many people in here, and then we get the renewal rates, even though they're not practicing real estate. And I mean, the fallout rate, what is that? I mean, I think the first, out of 100, the first year, only 5% actually manage to stay in.
Yep. And let's not forget, like, and then you go into a shift, like this past 18 months. I mean, this is the worst shift in the real estate market in 18 or 40 years.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'm sure we talked about this. Like, just in 2023, 60% of loan officers did not renew their NMLS.
Did not renew, yeah.
60% of your industry said, I can't hack it.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
When I first got started 6 years ago, William told me, he sat me down in his office. He's like, hey, don't expect in the first, 3 years to do shit. If you even make it after those 3 years, okay, things are going to get better for you. But if you make it past that 5th year,
that's when
believe me, things are going to start looking up.
Yeah.
And
True statement.
I stick to that because it's, as he told me, it has happened. There's been 2-3 years they didn't happen, and then it started happening, and then now I'm like in my 6 years, I'm like, well, I'm already too far in now. I didn't come this far to come this far. And 2023 was a huge shift, but it also taught it taught me a lot about myself. And what lessons did you take from 2023 that you're now implementing in 2024?
Well, I probably picked the worst year in the possible history of real estate to try to rebrand.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I think the biggest thing is just, have you ever heard of the cycle of history?
Oh, yes, of course.
All right. The cycle of history is very true, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, because not just the cycle of history, it's also the cycle of your life and relationships.
That's right.
And that is, good times create weak people.
Yeah.
Weak people create bad times. Bad times create great people, and great people create good times. So, I tell people, like, as long as you can, survive winter, the old Game of Thrones thing, winter is coming.
Yeah.
Winter ain't coming, motherfucker. It already came and went. Right?
It's still here.
If you didn't store your acorns, you might be hungry right now. So it was tough. I mean, look, to put in perspective, in 2023, in real estate, we lost 40% of all sales. Normally real estate shifts. It goes from like a buyer's market to seller's market and vice versa. I don't think we've ever seen where sellers stop selling and buyers stop buying.
Yeah.
It's just
boom. Who shut the curtains here?
Right. I was very blessed to have already built a pretty lucrative business. So 40% hurt. Yeah. But we were able to survive. It was kind of like we were on life support, but we were getting by. But people who are just getting into the business or just, start like 40% of, if you're only like doing 10 deals, going from 10 deals to
1, 2,
1, 2, that's
none.
It hurt a lot. So, but I think that if you've gotten through it, it's going to weed out of the people that were kind of part-timers. Yeah. And we're going in a shift in the industry too, right? We're in a point in time where iBuyers are a big part of it. I also believe that a lot of your old traditional real estate companies are starting to die away. I use the analogy. There's a great video out there called Pandemonium by Inman, who compares our current real estate industry to the Netflix versus Blockbuster scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Where Netflix was like kind of up and coming. They're like, oh, nobody's ever going to want to buy get their videos sent to them, or nobody wants to watch videos on their phone.
Yeah.
And so Blockbuster said, no thank you. I won't buy it for a measly $50 million. You'll just die away. Now there's literally one Blockbuster left in Bend, Oregon in the entire country, and Netflix is literally one of the largest companies in the country.
That's crazy. I still have their Blockbuster card. I'm just wondering if they're going to come back. Am I going to be able to use it?
Right.
It's the same customer ID number.
Right. Well, using that analogy, I mean, that's what I think we're facing. I think we're facing a shift from the legacy. I don't think you're going to be seeing very many of those Century 21 offices on the corners, because I think the brick and mortar concept with the overhead is going away. Our commissions are getting squeezed. And so I think the iCloud, just like Uber, right? Uber kind of changed the industry with taxi services. Yeah. I think the iCloud model of real estate is going to be the future, and I think it's going to start weed out a lot of the franchise models.
So I have to agree with you with that.
They say marketing is queen and technology is king right now in this industry.
Correct.
How are you implementing both of those in 2024 and in your new business approach?
So we talked about it a little offline. AI, game changer. I know people are scared to death. They think Terminator's going to show up next month.
It's like my Jarvis.
Right. And it is something to be worried about. Yeah. And I do think it needs to be regulated.
Yes.
I think there needs to be some regulation behind it, just like the internet needs regulation.
Yeah.
However, I do actually believe that, so I'm implementing a lot of AI when it comes to like coming up with things that, description, stuff like that. Believe it or not, actually, I needed an NDA, and this is a good example. Even attorneys are kind of freaking out right now because like I needed an NDA, and I was calling some of my attorney buddies, and like, I don't have time, blah blah. And I literally Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Hey, Chat GPT, will you write me a non-disclosure agreement in California for blah 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 blah?
Sure, certainly.
5 seconds. Done.
Well, that's too formal. Can you do it a little less informal, and then it'll just do it again, right?
It's crazy. And then video editing. My assistant is over. Turns out I learned about this at a mastermind. Like I have there's these AI things for video that does all the editing for you.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. So AI is a big one. Of course, video content, just social media, like it is here. If you're not doing videos, you're not doing things like y'all are doing with the podcast, stuff like that. You can do a good business, but if you really want to scale, you're gonna have to stay in tune. And I do going back to AI. I personally believe that AI is going to actually elevate humanity.
Yes.
I think it's going to give us a stepping stone when we're not trying to think about how to build the foundation. AI is going to say, here's the foundation. Oh, shit, now that you built that, let me think about this. It's going to raise our thought process.
Why didn't I think about that?
Our level of creativity is just going to start stacking up because it's giving us a base that you don't have to think about that.
That's right.
Exactly. So AI is giving us the baseline because it's using all the knowledge that humanity has today to develop these things. But now it's going to make us go, oh, wow. Now, what about this? And it's going to elevate us. And
innovation in the next 20 years is going to be crazy.
I mean, everything has changed. I mean, we're practically about the same age. When we were growing up, not much changed. I'm a Toys R Us kid still, right? Like that sounds and that song just still stays in my head, right? Like
there was a song.
Things didn't really. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Yeah. And I'm still there. Like my wife still kind of fights with that, but I'm still a Toys R Us, even though it's non-existent, right?
Yes.
Similar to Blockbuster and Netflix. If you don't keep up with things, believe me, it's just going to kill you. It's just going to die you out, and you're going to have to figure something out. The great thing with technology moving forward now is you have to learn to pivot.
Yes.
And I see that those are the things that you continue to do. And I appreciate that you're always sharing all these things because although it may seem easy, just adapt the AI into the business. Oh, yeah, I could do video editing. You can't do it yourself, right?
Well, that's one of the biggest things that I see is that, I'll give anybody my entire playbook. The problem is 98% of people won't run the plays.
They won't integrate it.
Right. I loved your sign that you had walking up your steps. Who's responsible for putting that sign up? Is that you, Andy?
Yeah.
Is that Memo?
Big guy.
Yeah.
So Memo, it says, and I love it. It says, great ideas are nothing without execution.
Yeah,
and
everything.
That's a great point. And my favorite quote to go in line with that is General George Patton in World War II was famously quoted as saying, and people know me, have heard me say this 1,000 times, and it simply goes, a good plan violently executed today is better than the perfect plan executed next week. So just take massive action.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
Because, a lot of people get caught up in analysis paralysis and they're like, I want it to be perfect before I release the world. People don't give a shit.
Yeah. I still got to get away from that, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
we still have, some of us still fight with those things.
I know. Well,
and I'm glad you share that because just to let people know, like we all have those challenges, but we just going to continue to go out there and get it done.
Yep.
And again, what I love all about all of this is we continue to give back. We're putting our vulnerabilities out there. We are two
100%.
people. We're two human beings.
Yep.
You know,
That's it.
You go home to your wonderful family. Same here. You know, it's just plan things that happen in your day. So.
Yep. Exactly. So I love it, guys. This is
That's
great.
awesome, man. Well, tell us, is there anything? I mean, I wish I can have you here for another hour or so because there's so much to go.
Oh, we can do it another time. That's
but we could absolutely do it another time. Is there anything that you felt we should have asked you and we didn't ask you?
No, not that you didn't ask, but I do want to do a big plug, of course, for the Enlisted Leadership Foundation for all the veterans listening out there. That's for non-for-profit. I mean, of course, real estate is real estate. That's a given. But I love the non-for-profit because it's called the Enlisted Leadership Foundation. We teach leadership to active duty military. It's one of the few nonprofits that focus on the active duty component and not the transitioned veteran. And the big thing I teach specifically is that military money and war class. So I teach it every month. It's virtual. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, financial health is the key. If you don't learn how to get the basics, and that's all I teach. I teach you just the basics: how to build a budget, how to get out of debt, how to build and maintain good credit. Then we talk about investing, and then that's when you get to go buy a house and do all these other investments. So every single month, it's the last Tuesday of every month. You can hit me up. I'm sure you'll put all the information out there. That's the big thing I want to put out there.
That's
it's a great
awesome.
class.
Dang.
And on that note, we had another guest that said past experiences get passed on to service members. So if you're not leading the right way, you're just getting passed down information. So that's huge. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Travis.
Yeah. So give the audience where can people find you, Travis?
All right. Well, the More Group is exactly that. It's moregroup.vet. So it's not .com, .vet, V-E-T.
Perfect.
And then, of course, the Enlisted Leadership Foundation is enlistedleadershipfoundation.org. All of our courses on there. And then, of course, the moregroup.vet has all the information on our company, our team, and everything we can offer.
Awesome.
That's
Travis,
awesome, man.
thank you
Yeah,
so
Travis,
much.
you're freaking phenomenal. You're awesome, brother.
Well, I appreciate
and
it,
this
guys.
is what an encouragement to others, right, that are still active, that are veterans. Some veterans out there that just still don't know what to do. Hey, give them a call. Figure it out. I know your community is huge. Your group of people is huge.
I always say the only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
That's right. Exactly. You could always just set up. You're like the Cupid in all these things, setting people out in the right places. You guys, don't forget to give them a shout out here. Give them a call. Like, I'm telling you, this guy is more than giving. His heart is, he wears it on his sleeve.
I appreciate that. I learned it from the best ever.
Thank you, man.
Friends and family, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Make sure you check this one out when it drops. And don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. See you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See ya.